Rev up your engines! All right, today I have an interesting vehicle. The 2006 Honda Pilot. It's the biggest vehicle that Honda ever made. Now, to us Americans, we now call them mid-size SUVs, but it's the biggest thing Honda ever made. Now, he just bought it for $5,000 used because he's like me. He likes older things that are simpler and can really last. Then he customized it all himself and set it up right. He put the timing belt on it because these are interference engines, and even today, 18 years later, Honda's still putting rubber timing belts on their V6 engines. I think it's kind of crazy, but they're good engines. So you put a timing belt in it every once in a while, and no big deal. And speaking of the engine, it's Honda's very reliable 3.5 liter VTEC. Like I said, it does have a timing belt. He had that all changed out because he doesn't want to have any problems. It's a smart move. See, he's had the hood custom insulated, less noise. They're not particularly noisy anyways. Now, they make these in the United States now, but early they made them all in Canada. Unibody construction, and it's pretty much the same setup as a Honda Odyssey and the Ridgeline. Either all-wheel drive or front-wheel drive, V6 engines in them. And Honda knew what they were doing when they designed them. When you go unibody with these bigger vehicles, they ride a lot better. Let's say you get a full-frame version of this by another manufacturer. You'll notice the ride is indeed a much rougher ride. Take a Toyota 4Runner, excellent vehicles. They can run forever, but they don't ride like this thing does. This is basically Honda's version of the Acura MDX. The Acura MDX actually rides a little bit better. It's a little bit fancier vehicle. Now, unfortunately, he lives in New Jersey. I say unfortunately for many reasons, but the main reason here is you gotta get him emissions inspected. And unfortunately, he did have to buy a catalytic converter, and he put an oxygen sensor on it. Those things will wear. They'll get inefficient catalytic converter code, and if he lived in Tennessee like me here, he would just continue to drive it and no one would care. He did have to put a catalytic converter in it because as they age, these motors will often burn a little bit of oil. He said it burned about a quart. 900 miles driving here from Jersey. Burning oil eventually will clog up a catalytic converter over years and years and years. Now, if you live in a place like Tennessee, you don't care because you just continue to drive it. They generally, these Hondas, I've never seen a Honda catalytic converter actually clog up so that it couldn't go over a certain speed, like over 50, and that the temperature gauge started to rise, go towards the H because the cat was totally clogged up. I've never seen that happen. But I have seen them trip codes, and to pass emissions testing, you'll have to change the catalytic converter. Previous owner put on new lenses, so he didn't have to do that. You can always get these things aftermarket. They're not that bad. And as we look inside, hey, the interior's still in really good shape. That's one reason I like cloth seats. Look at them. They hold up. They're almost like denim. They really held up well. Now, he did upgrade it. He put his own little Kenwood in. Well, see what it sounds like. Starts right up. Let's check something out here. Check it out. He put a backup camera on it too. Didn't come with a backup camera. Now you can see it's got 134,842 miles on it. Recovered the armrest because these always wear out. So he had it recovered. Whoever did it did a pretty good job. They did nice stitching. You can tell he's an old guy because he's got his protein shake. Vanilla cream. In an old car, the only thing the steering wheel has is your cruise control, right? So here we go. The standalone diagnosis. There's the VIN number. It's a USA Pilot 2006. Now you can tell it's an 18-year-old car because the communications are a lot slower, right? But it's going to be able to do a topology scan. So here we go. We'll do a full scan. Dawn hasn't found anything wrong yet. And as you can see, it's 100% done. It has no codes at all. When they say they don't make them like they used to, they're not just whistling Dixie. They don't. I have scanned Hondas that were 3 years old that had a bunch of codes in them. This has absolutely none. So we'll go through main data and we'll see what kind of shape everything's in. The cars, remember, black's good, red's bad. We'll look at the data here. The map sensor data is good. Throttle position sensor is good. Check it out. The air fuel sensor, it is subtracting 0.05 of 1%. That's almost perfect. 0 is perfect, right? The lambda 1 is perfect there, not 0.99 or 1. It's still almost running perfect. You know, it's got 134,842 miles on it. So we'll go further down the line. Everything's looking normal. Battery's charging fine. Transmission data's good. The VTEC system's working correctly. Typical Honda misfire 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. Everything's 0. Oh, the thing's in excellent shape. Like for a spin, you can see, well, it's kind of dirty, but he put a backup camera on, so it's got a backup camera. Thing I noticed, it's smooth as can be. Rarely smooth. And being Honda's largest vehicle, hey, it's high up in the air. You get a nice view of things. And being a big high up in the air vehicle, hey, it's not a race car. It rides pretty smooth, but hey, you don't want to tip this thing over. You don't want to be cornering too fast in one of these things. The only thing I can find wrong so far is that this little knob came out of here. You could put some JB weld, try to weld it back on with the plastic or buy a new plastic part. And the brakes work perfectly fine. Take it to our little drag strip. Here we got a Tobacco Road. Now occasionally these have a little bit of wear in the transmission, so we'll check that out when we take off. The engine sure sounds good. Now there's nobody behind us, so on your mark, get set, go! Totally smooth transmission. Smooth shifts. We'll let loose. Nice smooth deceleration. And we're going like 45. Let's see how it passes people. Move forward. Now it's not a race car. It's not meant to be that. But it passes. Gets going. This is Honda's largest SUV, although we Americans now call it mid-sized. It's the biggest thing that Honda ever made. The newer ones are slightly bigger than this one, because this is the first generation that was made in Canada. Hey, the guy lives in Jersey, and he drove all the way to Tennessee to visit me, right? To have me check it out. I said, hey, you could have visited me when I was in Portsmouth, Rhode Island. It's a lot closer to New Jersey. Rhode Island borders on New Jersey. But he said, I like road trips. I'm going to go for road trips. Give me something to do. So he brought it along and had no problems. You feel a lot more secure in the rain and the snow if you're driving at faster speeds, especially. All right, so what did this prove? Well, for $5 grand, he got a pretty good vehicle, right? I mean, truthfully, the new ones won't last as long as this. They got GDI, they got all kinds of technology that's going to break down. This is a much simpler vehicle. Everything on it still works. The only thing I could find wrong was the sun visor plastic piece is snapped out. You could always glue it back in if you wanted. But the engine still runs great. Transmission still shifts good. Everything on it works perfectly fine. Why would you want to spend 45, 50 grand on a brand new one? The man is like me. He doesn't like wasting his money. Although, to tell you the truth, he said he's probably had $500,000 worth of cars in his lifetime, and he's about my age, so I only spent $7 grand, so I'm a cheapskate. He's not a cheapskate until his old age. He's finally wised up in his old age and saved himself a bunch of money buying this thing. So, you could teach an old dog new tricks. And here's some bonus questions and answers. Hershey says, should I daily drive a 20-year-old BMW? I'm looking at a 325X 2004 with 75,000 miles. Will it be a decent, reliable car? I'm in Canada and can use the all-wheel drive. If you want to daily drive, buy and daily drive a 20-year-old BMW, I hope you like gambling. Roll those dice, spin that roulette wheel, because BMWs are endless money pits. Now, 75,000 miles isn't that bad. That's low mileage, right? But the kicker is, it's a 20-year-old vehicle. All that stuff, even on a 2004, is made out of plastic on a BMW. It will crack, it will leak, and it will cost you a fortune to replace parts. Sure, you might say, oh, look, it's just a plastic part. Well, one, it might be $350, and then you might find out you got to take half the engine apart to replace it, so it's going to cost you $1,000-something to fix. So, you live in Canada, so you've got it really bad. It's cold up there. Plastic doesn't like cold, and it doesn't like heat. So if you get hot in the summer there, the heat's going to bother it, but even worse, the really cold weather is going to make that plastic crack. There's no way, if I lived there, would I buy a 20-year-old BMW for a daily driver, unless you're a real riverboat gambler there, you know? I wouldn't touch that thing with a 10-foot pole. That's the kind of car, if you could get it cheap enough, it's 20 years old, right? It could be a nice summer toy to use on the weekends if you're not going to put many miles on it. It could be an okay summer toy, but a daily driver, not really. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.